Oh, hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Karate Ramblings. I'm Kieran,
And I'm Brian.
and today we are talking about what is a contentious, well, I say contentious, it can be slightly controversial training topic, which is kata. Brian, would you like to kick us off and let us know in your own words, what is kata?
Well, the way most karateka would see kata is it's a sequence of moves put together and trained solo. So it's yeah, basically in a nutshell, solo training that you can do without a partner. Um,
Mm,
so yeah, the issue I think the reason why I wanted to talk about it today is that I see a lot of pushback online really with people saying, don't waste your time with kata. If you want to learn to fight, you don't need kata. So in some terms, I would say they're right, but in others, not so much. So I think
mhm,
kata is an important tool if trained correctly. So that's
mhm.
my thoughts on that. Um, so yeah, talking about training it correctly. Personally, I think kata training, 95% of it is partner training. So the 5% would be the solo training. So I don't
Mhm.
know if you'd agree with that, if that's how you see it as well.
See, I'm going to be very how to put it, very annoyingly specific here because your initial definition was it's solo training, but the truth behind it is it's not solo training in the slightest. You said it's only 5%. I think it's a big misconception that it is only solo training, but kata itself is a process, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think the way I described it initially was how most people see it. So not necessarily how I
Mm.
how I would see it or how
Oh
I
yeah.
practice it. Yeah. So not how I see it or practice it. It says how the mainstream would see it. I guess
Mm.
is how I explain it. But yeah, it's definitely a process. And the way I've been using it a lot lately is as a lesson plan. So we can go in to a class and you look at who's turned up on the night and you think, right, tonight, we're going to benefit from working on Hyan Nidan, but we're not going through the solo kata for an hour and a half. We're working combative principles within the kata with a partner.
Mm.
So that's our training. So we'll do um, the partner drills, and then we'll try and train it live at the end of the class. So you work in the principles and then putting them into live practice, and then maybe as a cool down, we'll do the solo form once or twice, just
Mhm.
as a recap of what we've done throughout the lesson. So that's
Mm.
that's the way a perfect lesson as I see it. It's a really good lesson plan.
See, I
So
think you mentioned something quite good there. Instead of just working the sequence of the kata, like, oh, here's the first move, second move, third move, and this is how you put into concept. We work the principles, we work the lessons that what we can learn from the solo form and what the form is trying to teach us, and work them into all sorts of moves and techniques instead of just relying on the things that it's saying in black and white, if that makes sense.
yeah, but then again, you've got to be able to, like you say, practice the technique or the principles, but then you've got to be able to pull them out in live training. Put it off in
Mm,
live training. So if you're not putting it into, even if it's low level live training, if you're not able to pull it off in live training, you've not really learned the principles or the technique at that point. So you need to drill them and then put them into live practice. But the other thing I was thinking while I wanted to talk about this as well is because I think karate is one of the only arts that seems to do this kata practice solo. I mean,
mm.
as I say, there are other arts, but I've dabbled in judo, and judo's kata, and you've done perhaps a bit more of judo than I have. Is
I've
is
done a bit,
partner
yeah.
work? Is it? Yeah. So judo kata is partner work.
99% partner work.
Yeah. So there's not really any judo kata done on their own that you know of, or
None that I know of. There are katas, but they are two-person forms, and they are done very precisely, to the way, to the same sort of standards that you'd expect a lot of karate solo kata to be performed as a performance.
yeah.
Yeah, judo is very strict on its kata, but kata only really comes into play in like blue belt and onwards.
Okay.
So
But
that's like
it's
most of the grades gone already.
yeah, but it's not a solo. It's not a solo pursuit as such. Yeah, so
No,
it's
no,
something you do with a
absolutely
partner.
not. I mean, it's very rare in an art you actually get solo only, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you
So
look
so
at
yeah, I was gonna say judo's a combat sport, right? So I guess
Mhm.
you're always going to want to do your stuff with a partner. Yeah,
Oh,
or your
absolutely.
training, all your training is going to be with a partner. So I do Aikido and Aikido Jiu-Jitsu as well. Okay,
Hmm.
alongside my karate. So it's not a combat sport. It's a martial art. So I think that's an art that's lost its way in so many ways. It's more about the art than the martial.
Hmm.
But they're the kata in Aikido Jiu-Jitsu or Aikido. Again, they have kata, but it's all partner work.
Mm,
It's not solo. It's not solo form. So so it's another Japanese art with kata, but not done on its own.
mm,
I
yeah.
Yeah, go on. You was gonna go.
I was going to say, like, in terms of like martial arts, it's very, apart from karate, maybe some Chinese arts and other arts like kendo we were mentioning before. It's very rare you'll actually have someone say, okay, here's a set form, complete the form by yourself and be as precise and as, how to put it, specific as possible with your feet and with your knees and foot placement and things like that. It's a very unique one to certain arts, isn't it? Like karate.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the precision in kata does in the solo form does help function. But when you see it put into practice, it won't look as precise or as pretty as the kata.
It
It can look
won't.
quite different, but you've got the same body mechanics, the same movement, but it will look quite different.
You do, but I will say, kata can, in my opinion, I mean, like this is the reason why kata needs to be trained with a partner as well, is that solo training can only go so far. You can have the most immaculate form by yourself, spine straight all the way up, chin up, shoulders back, shutoki, arms at the right angle. But as soon as you put that with a partner, that's going to change massively. I mean, some principles will stay the same, like trying to keep upright or having a solid stance. But when you actually put that against another live human being, it becomes completely different technique entirely, or a different look at least.
Yeah, yeah, and I think um, in terms of karate kata, I think the old masters. We go back to the old masters again. They, I mean, we can only assume, but I think the way Funakoshi wrote in his book, Karate Do My Way of Life, that
Hmm.
when he was training with Itosu maybe or Zato, that he would often be made to eat the dirt. Now, I'm doubting they was making him eat dirt off the floor. It's probably a term that we would use, like eat the dust, where you've been thrown on the floor and you're eating the dirt. So
Mm,
the fact that he was made to do this a lot would suggest that, his kata practice was done, it was partner work, it was sparring, and not so much the solo form.
Either
So
that
it's,
or
yeah,
while he was doing the solo form, he had
it
incredibly
was,
abusive spectators who were just like
I
just
did
pushing
just
him
think
over.
that,
Your
yeah.
stance is terrible.
It was rubbish. Go and eat some dirt. Yeah, it did make me think that while I was saying that. Yeah, maybe he was just being abused while he was training. But yeah, I
Mm,
don't think so. I think it was more to the fact that it was live training and it was fighting. He was
mm.
practicing fighting and yeah, ended up on the floor a lot.
See, that is also another thing. I mean, the live training that we do for kata in the kata process, that is going to take up most of it. So it is a bit strange when you do see a lot of clubs practicing more just the solo form for the solo form's sake and not actually understanding what the solo form is trying to teach you in an actual combat scenario.
Yeah, I mean, I did spend years doing this and believing that practicing the solo form was going to miraculously come out into live combat because I've practiced it so many times in thin air that it was going to, I don't know why I was that deluded really to think that it would actually happen. But and then
Yeah.
when we did our sport kumite, I was like more of a sort of JKA type show whip on type kumite that I used to do. Our sparring was nothing like the kata, so
Mm,
unless you're picking out a Gakazuki from the kata, but that was about it. The Mawashi Garis out of scoring points in the kumite. So the way most people train kata and fighting are two completely different things. But when we're doing our sparring, we're incorporating the kata applications within the sparring. You can kind of see it. It looks the same.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. It does seem very much like a lot of old clubs put, the cart before the horse. I mean, you're meant to be doing like you said, it's that 5%. You're meant to be practicing the solo form only 5% of your overall training time. The rest of it, while you've got a live human being in the same class in the same room as you, use them. Don't
Yeah,
just don't stand next to them in a nice neat line and trying to get your move sharper than them. No, sweep their arm out of the way and punch them in the ribs. I
yeah,
mean,
exactly.
with
Yeah,
control, with
I
control.
think I think where kata really helped, or I was going to say really worked for me, or was really useful, was during COVID. Um, but even
Mm,
then, I probably spent more of my time lifting weights and doing bag work. Working on Bob, the hanging bag, or the floor ceiling speedball. So I still
mm.
wanted that impact work, rather than solo form. So I did do a little bit of kata during COVID.
Yeah, yeah. But see, again, I mean, I spent most of my training time on the heavy bag. I mean, yeah, I did some calisthenics and lightweight work, but it's the heavy bag, it's the impacts. Even then, it's not even punches, kicks, knees, and elbows. You've got your shutos, your rookies, all these other things you find in kata that you can do on the heavy bag. Do you remember when we used to tie a belt around the bag?
Yeah,
I used to use that as a improvised limb
bit of
to
limb
get
control. Yeah.
to get some hikate in there, and it was just other ways to train. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't have the option to use a heavier bag. I mean, now if a lockdown happened, I live in a flat now. I have got no space or the ability to drill into the wall and hang up a heavy bag. So if
It's
I
heavy.
were to, yeah, it would be kata or shadow boxing, which is not quite kata, but it is still like a solo exercise, as opposed to being a solo form where you must follow it exactly. It's a solo exercise. You do it as you want, as you're visualizing your opponent.
So I was thinking then, the question is, do we need kata um, as a solo form? If I think if we didn't do it, we would lose. Like I say, for me, it's quite a good lesson plan. So I can go in and say, right, tonight we'll do Hyan Sundan, which for us is mostly close in grappling and throwing in
Hmm.
our the way we interpret Hyan Sundan. So, we could do the close in grappling and throwing without having the kata there. But like I say, what's within that form for me, it's a good lesson plan to. So I
Hmm.
think you still need, for me personally, coming from a very traditional background, still need the forms as a lesson plan. I think it's good to have.
Hmm.
And I still, even though it's something I don't do as much myself now, I still do like to see a good performance of kata.
Hmm.
It does look really cool when somebody's really sharp and crisp with their techniques. But being good at that is not going to make you good at fighting. I think
Yeah,
is
agreed. I mean, I'd say I'm opposite on that end of the scale. I think in an ideal world, we could do without kata, without the solo form entirely. Um, I mean, if we look at kata as a requirement, as a main requirement for someone to pass the next grade, you could look at that kata and say, oh, it's got X, Y, and Z principles. Look at the next kata and say A, B, and C, and you could use those as your lesson plan, as you say. But I think one of the main reasons why a lot of, especially practical karate clubs, hold on to kata is just to, how to put it, keep a connection with what they were taught from their traditional clubs, B, have that sort of connection to the wider karate world, and C, if someone who's coming in from a more traditional background where solo form is all they've done, they'll also, they won't feel completely alien in this new club where they focus mostly on partner drilling and live sparring.
yeah, it's just a bit of living history, I suppose, isn't it? So you're still
Yeah.
still keeping that connection to the past. Um,
Mm.
yeah, yeah, it's a
But
funny one because
yeah,
we don't. Let's say in our club, I say 5%. We probably don't even do that, but
no, we do.
I
Last time
do
we
like it.
practiced,
Yeah,
yeah, last time we
I do
practiced
like
full
it,
form
but
was weeks ago.
yeah, yeah. But we've done, like I say, we've done the katas, but with partners. So yeah, like I say, the idea is, it's a good way to cool down at the end. But we often just have a nice stretch and in your friendship circle. Which, if Luke listens to this, then
Everyone's friends in the circle. The moment we get out of the circle, no one's friends with each other. No, 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 no. There's nothing but violence and hatred in that. Outside of the circle, when we're in the circle, we can think nice thoughts.
yeah. But yeah. So we tend to stretch and have a cool down that way. But yeah, kata is a good way to warm up or cool down. So
Mm.
if this is our topic or our theme tonight, we can use that as a like I say, warm up or cool down.
Yeah,
And
no, I think that works quite well.
personally, yeah, I wouldn't like to lose it because it does. And also, I was thinking about this earlier as well, and it's not something that's new to my thoughts. Is there is definitely a progression within the Heian kata, at least where most people start their karate journey. So,
Hmm.
I think Heian Shodan, which is what as a Shotokan practitioner we learn first. Wado do it the other way around. So Heian
No
Nidan
idea
is there.
why.
Well,
No
yeah, I
clue.
don't know because it's a harder form to learn, but I think there's a bit more in it that's useful, obviously. So
Mm.
at the start of Yan Nidan for us, you've got frame in the head, which is a head cover, and then you've got the striking techniques, you've got some kicking techniques. So I think so. What I was going to say is Yan Shodan for me is teaching you to strike. You've got that blitz forward with your three punches, you've got
Mm.
driving forward with your agyukis and taking angles with your shooter hookies, getting offline and framing and stuff like that. So I think the first kata is teaching you to hit and blast forwards. The second kata for us is giving you more techniques. Yan Sundan is he's starting to grapple a bit more and learning to throw.
Mm.
Yondan is going back to going back to that clinch fighting. Then I think you're within a more of a confined clinch. And then
Hmm.
Godan is just adding to all the skill set you've already got. You've got
Yeah.
so I think there's a nice progression within the combative skills of the kata. Um, I can't remember where I was going with it, but I do think the progression's good. But
Yeah.
MMA fighters don't have kata.
No, MMA
No,
doesn't, Muay Thai doesn't, kickboxing doesn't, BJJ doesn't, Sambo doesn't.
what
But then again,
what
they
is
are
it?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what is it? What they do? Is it a kata they do at the start of some Muay Thai fights where they're kneeling on the
Um,
floor, or is that
if
more of just
I'm,
a ceremony?
I think that is just ceremony. I mean, I'm personally, if I'm being perfectly honest, I don't really see that much. I mean, I think I might
I
have seen it a
reckon.
couple of times on YouTube, but you don't see them
Yeah,
do it in one championship. So,
no.
yeah, I couldn't really say.
Is there kata in Muay Thai? I wonder.
Yeah, you're
I
probably going to
think,
get
yeah,
a
I
lot
think
of,
there
if you
is.
Google that, if
Yeah,
you
I'm gonna have a
Google that, you're going to
quick.
get a lot of angry comments of Muay Thai like, we don't practice kata. But the thing at the same time is those arts are they're training to fight to win matches within a certain time limits and a certain rule set, and you get some
Yeah,
fantastic athletes out of it, but it's not the same thing as karate, because karate is originally, years and years ago, was meant for street defense and barroom brawls.
exactly.
After
Yeah,
after that, it became a sport for university students to do, and then as it progressed, it became all things to all people throughout the world. It can be a combat sport, it can be a form of just solo exercise with people, it can be a boxercise class, it can
yeah,
be self-protection stuff. It's you can't contain it into one box, unfortunately. You'll never get
yeah.
someone who goes to Muay Thai and says, "Oh, I do it because it's great on my joints."
No, definitely not. Yeah, I don't. Well, I say I didn't sort of look into that too much, but yeah, if anybody's listening to this or anybody knows, yeah, just drop it in the comments. Does Muay Thai have kata? I'll Google it later anyway. But
I
yeah, it's good
mean,
to
in
interact with us guys. So
in my limited time in Muay Thai, which I'm just going on steadily, so on and so forth, every few weeks, there's been no kata so far. I mean, there's a lot of conditioning work, which is,
yeah,
I suppose, is the thing that a lot of karateka do get a bit of flack for, is that you spend so much time hitting the thin air. The moment the time they actually get kicked in the leg or in the ribs or in the head, they're like, oh, everything has failed, and my kata training doesn't work.
have you seen Ong Bak, the film Ong Bak?
On back. I think I
Yeah,
saw most of the film. I've not
because
seen the whole thing.
I'm sure there's like it does like a kata sequence in that. I'm pretty sure of it.
He does, but I'm pretty sure that was probably just a
Like
that
shadow
might have
boxing,
just,
you're saying.
yeah, shadow boxing. I think it might have just been a sequence for him to learn from his instructor. Because is that the film where after he's learned it and the instructor says, "Good, now you must quit" or something like that,
I
or you
don't know.
must never do it
I think
again?
it's. Oh God, it's been ages since I've seen it, but I think there's something to do
Or
with saving elephants at the end, or elephants' bones, or something like that. Yeah, I might be talking out
okay.
my ass now, but I'm
We
gonna have to
we
look it
might
up
be
again now.
talking about very different films. Or I think it was a
Yeah,
case of he said
Ong
he'd
Bak's
he
really good Muay Thai in there though. Really good
mm.
Muay Thai sequences in the action
Was it
in
the
the fight.
first fight where all he did was just he lifted up his leg and knocked the guy out in one after he was just trying to get his wallet back from another bloke? Is
Oh
that the right
geez,
film?
I'm gonna have to watch it now this afternoon. That's my afternoon's entertainment now. Ong Bak, yeah. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure in that film there's a scene where he's in like some old temple ruins doing some kind of kata.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think if we're talking about the same film, then yeah, I know what you're talking about. But
yeah,
yeah, apart from maybe some things which individual clubs might say for people to do to help them learn techniques, overall there's no, standardized kata throughout all of Muay Thai. You won't go to
yeah.
one club here and one club here and say, "Oh, do you know this form?" Like, no, but we do this set of shadow boxing instead. It's just that is the thing in a lot of karate. If you say, "Oh, I do karate and this is my kata," you can go to a club, I don't know, in Germany or in Italy, and if you just say the words, they'll more than likely know what you're talking about. I mean,
Mm,
there might be a few differences like Teki Shodan gets called Naihanchi or Naifanchi sometimes, but
yeah.
apart from that, they'll
Have
roughly know
you
what you're talking about.
I don't know if you would have done, but have you read Gavin Mulholland's book? Um,
No, I haven't.
oh, it's up here. What is it? Four Shades of Black. I'm just going to grab it actually because it's a really good book and it's about so
Hmm.
he's just done the sequel now. Actually, he's just got the proof copy, More Shades of Black. But this is about his syllabus. So Gav's a Goju-Ryu practitioner. Um,
GKK, isn't he?
that's DKK.
Oh,
DKK.
DKK,
Yeah,
that's it.
yeah. Um, and his guys, I mean, he's very traditional in what he does, but he's very passionate about Goju-Ryu. I've only just recently met him, but I met him at a gig, funny enough, that he was playing rather than on the mat. Um, but yeah, so his his book is, and he's used kata in the cage, and he's like proved that this stuff, it works, from a traditional martial art, from a traditional viewpoint. So he would strongly argue against kata, being useless or pointless. The reason why I mentioned this. Why did I pick this up? Because it was about the cool names for the Goju-Ryu kata. Have you seen
Oh
the
yeah.
translation for the names in
Yes, are they Goju kata names or are they death metal bands? We don't know. Like
exactly?
Rip
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Tear and
Yeah,
Smash
smash and
and
grab. Yeah, yeah. It sounds like
yeah.
a ram raid, doesn't it? Smash and grab, or is it smash and tear, smash it, whatever it is. But yeah,
But they
they basically they say what they mean. Do you know what I mean? So it's easier to understand. Whereas for us Shotokan practitioners, peaceful mind, or what we say is peaceful mind number
mm,
one, peaceful mind number two. Although Ian said the translation may have Ian Abernethy said the translation may have been misunderstood, and it's to stay safe from harm, which would make more sense.
mm.
Safe from harm number one, safe from harm number two, for the Hian or the Pinan series.
Yeah,
But
yeah, because Pin'an is closer to the original Chinese, and the Chinese is more about the Chinese translation is to stay safe. It's a problem when you're trying to translate a language into
mm,
another language, and then ship that
yeah,
language
yeah,
halfway across the world.
yeah,
It's never going to be exactly, and it won't work like that. But
yeah.
yeah, no,
But yeah,
that is a
yeah,
funny thing
yeah.
with
Go
kata
like I say,
names.
go to Rue Kata names. Um, yeah, definitely sort of tell you what the cat is about, which is that's really helpful.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, if anybody's wants to read that book, I say I'm looking forward to his second book coming out, the More Shades of Black. So Four Shades was up to black belt, and then
Hmm.
the More Shades is up. from black belt to sixth dan. So it'd be interesting to see what his book's
Yeah,
about there. So
yeah, you'll have to tell me about that book, a bit more about that book later. It might be interesting to pick one up because you have told me before about his people fighting in the cage before or doing
yeah,
dual work to make sure that
that's it.
their skills actually work.
I think that used to be part of their downgrade requirement is to
Mm,
to do either the doors for X amount of time or do a cage fight. I don't think they do it anymore, but they do similar to the Kyokushin thing. It's like they do a 20-man kumite
hmm
as part of their gradings, but we sort of diverging from kata now, aren't we? Um, but yeah, so I don't know how long we got left on this chat, to be honest, Kieran.
I
But
have no
yeah,
idea. I
normally
think
we
we've
get a
got
warning. So
yeah, we've got a bit left at least.
yeah, so yeah, kata. I wouldn't personally. I wouldn't drop it. I still like training it the way we do. In terms of working with a partner, which I think is its main intention. That was the way it was always. I think the way it
Mhm.
was always meant to be, as a partner drill, and not how you see it. I don't like bitching about people. How you see it with the WKF, because I
Mm.
mean, there's moves in their bunkai or their applications which don't even exist in the kata.
Yeah.
So they're often sort of finish their bunkai with a foot sweep that's not part of the kata, or they've got mawashi geris, which is not in any Shotokan kata or any kata at all. I don't think mawashi geri
Not
is
that I'm
quite a new
aware of.
kick. Yeah, so yeah, there's kata definitely needs to be trained more often than not with a partner.
Mm.
Um, and I mean, it's still part of our grading requirement to have a good kata performance, but it's something that I expect, once they've learned the form in class, to go away and practice at home,
Mm.
as part of the grading requirement.
Yeah, that is the one of the few things that they can do at home by themselves. They can do all the shadow boxing they want, but they've actually got a form for them to work towards. It is just a case of getting it to have the time to practice the form in class. But this is also the thing. If you want to learn any kata, you don't have to. Things. If you just want to learn the solo form, you don't even have to attend a karate class. There are hundreds and thousands of videos online on YouTube. Just type in any kata name, and you'll find someone with a step-by-step guide for it. You don't need to go to class for that.
Yeah, obviously that's if you've got a good grasp of technique in the first place.
Oh yeah, true. You need to know your
Obviously,
arse from
you
your
would
elbow.
still need I'd say, yeah, to learn a kata, if you was a beginner, you'd still want instruction to make sure you're doing the technique correct and you're not injuring yourself by doing so, because improper stances or just foot position when you're turning and stuff like that, can cause damage to your knees and things like that. So I think, yeah, learning the kata, I still think you want to learn it from an instructor first, but like you said, once you got an understanding of the techniques and principles, you can learn it online. I've learned kata before, more advanced katas, um, with I think a combination of the two. So I learned it from my instructor at the time, but you can't remember everything. So I recapped, like you say, on YouTube. Just found a
Mm.
YouTube clip of an instructional of the kata, but there's going to be differences, aren't there? Within different, even within the same organisation, from club to club, you'll have a difference, won't you?
Oh, absolutely.
So instructor A will do it slightly different to instructor B, although bigger organisations like to have it standardised. I don't think it ever is it?
No, no, it won't be. I mean, the thing is, you can't have it standardized because everyone's a different shape.
Mm,
Everyone's different, so it's going to look different from person B to person C to person F. Everyone's going to look so different doing their form. Yeah, I think standardization. I mean, you can have similar ideas like I don't know weight distribution on stances or just like feet facing the same direction or to a certain distance apart, but you'll never get it pinpoint accurate. And that is one of the things that is a bit annoying with kata competition is that they'll try they'll say, okay, this is the standard, and then everyone's gonna painstakingly just try and force their body to get to that standard, even though that's not may not be the right way that their body works.
yeah, I mean, I mean, I think we're talking about kata as a practice. How you should practice kata and how other martial arts practice kata with a partner. Um, so I suppose the discussion wasn't really on solo performance and competition, but what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that? Really, is it something that should be judged? As a
No.
performance?
Uh,
You
in
don't
my
think so?
opinion, in my opinion, no. I mean, there are kata athletes. There are people who enjoy performing kata at competition and competing for it. But in my opinion, no, no. I'd
So,
say apart from this and Chinese wushu, there's no there's no other martial arts which rates people on how well they can dance.
well, this is it. Yeah, it did remind me of I think Master Ken done an awards ceremony years ago, and he
Mhm.
congratulated somebody on being the best at fighting imaginary opponents. So, which is kind of what you're doing, isn't it? When you're doing
Yeah.
kata, just you're fighting imaginary opponents. So, yeah,
Who can
congratulations on winning the gold medal for fighting imaginary opponents.
who can do the best hurricane?
This is it, yeah, yeah. But yeah, see, yeah. So the solo performance is a personal thing for me anyway. So what anybody else thinks of it, unless it was my instructor, which I don't have a direct instructor anymore these days. I will. Um, I say my last grading was done under Ian Abernethy.
Mm,
Um, he's not my instructor though, so it's about my personal development, and I'll go and train in other martial arts as my personal development.
mm.
But yeah, my kata is a personal thing at the stage I am in my karate now. So yeah, what somebody else thinks of the performance, unless there was something drastically wrong, which by this stage, I've been training most of my life at the age of 51 now, I think 52 maybe. You,
Can't keep
you
track
lose track.
anymore.
You lose track these days, yeah. And training solidly since I was 19, and actually started martial arts from the age of 9. I've been doing it all these years. If I ain't getting it right now, do you know what I mean? There's something wrong. There's seriously something wrong.
Yeah,
So yeah, before anybody goes, oh, but you need an instructor. You don't really, not when you've been trying it all your life.
yeah.
But
When you
still,
know it inside out.
yeah, but still, I learn things from other people still, so we're talking on WhatsApp earlier, the seminar we're going to with Mal later this year,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Seminar,
so
the weekend of fun.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I think we'll wrap this up and then just talk about things coming up, actually, shall we? Because
Yeah,
we got about
absolutely.
five minutes left. So yeah, kata we've already said it many times. It should be trained with a partner, really, not so much to the solo. The old masters did it as partner work. Like we said about Funakoshi, mentioned it in his book that being made to eat the dirt through fighting.
Mm.
We were assuming. So the solo form, just a small proportion of your time. In my opinion, I'm sure Kieran agrees with me on that.
I would mostly agree with you. The thing is, I would also add that the solo form doesn't need to be performed to a high standard, in my own opinion. I would rather rate the actual applications and the principles learned from it. I don't care if someone's foot is slightly off. I mean, for the sake of the club in our syllabus, we've not said otherwise. They need to get it as close as they can, but I don't want people fussing over that too much. I'd rather spend more time hitting, grabbing, and throwing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's that in a nutshell. So before we wrap it up then, Kieran, shall we up and coming? Sadly, we've got a notification today that the Bunkai Bash that I think
Uh,
we was all looking forward to was making a return this year, and sadly, I think it was just maybe bad planning by Andy, perhaps, but it was on Father's Day, which wasn't great for a lot of people. Not bad for me because my kids hate me, so I'm only joking.
That's
But yeah,
sad.
so we was yeah. So sadly, that's been cancelled, which other cool events though that are happening, or hopefully it's going to go ahead, was Mao's. We just mentioned it briefly.
Yeah,
You know a
so
bit
for
more about
those
it, Kieran.
yeah,
So
so for those who are aware of Sensei Mal Sanchez Jones or Coach Mal Sanchez Jones, he runs Kudo in the UK. His headquarters is based in Barry Island in Wales. He's got a fantastic group of people. He's got a great team around the UK for Kudo, full contact karate, martial arts, MMA. He's doing a martial arts weekend in July. I believe it is late July, 26th, 27th of July, I believe. I'm just remembering that
yeah,
off the
well,
top of my
27th,
head.
28th could be, but anyway, yeah, last weekend in July, basically.
Yeah, it's going to be an entire weekend of judo, BJJ, kickboxing, karate, kudo. There's gonna be beach wrestling as well. We're gonna go and get some kudo mal pizza at the local pizza place that named a pizza after him, and it looks like a fantastic time. You've got people coming from all over the country, people coming internationally. If you are free, I would highly, highly recommend it. If you're listening to this on YouTube, I'll drop a link down below of the UK Kudo Federation page. Get the post up, and yeah, if you're interested, I'd recommend looking it up.
Yeah, it's gonna be an awesome weekend, isn't it? So
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know if my old body's going to cope with that for the
you
full
will,
for the full weekend, but
you
we'll give
will.
it we'll give it a bloody good go. Yeah,
The limits are only
yeah,
in your mind, mate.
yeah,
You've come this far, so why stop
yeah,
now?
yeah. So yeah, but I'm really looking forward to it. So yeah, that's been confirmed. Um, I'm on a seminar next month
Mm.
in Waltham Cross with Ian Abernethy's Terry Monksfield is hosting it. So yeah,
Oh
hosting
yeah.
Ian Abernethy, and he's it's about the teachings of Funakoshi. So I think he's doing three different masters. One's going to be Funakoshi's teachings. The other's going to be Matobu. Because obviously he was the brawler, and then I
Mm.
can't remember who the third one is later on in the year. But yeah, it's going to be three different masters that they're
Mm.
going to be teaching over. So
Yeah,
yeah, looking
I
forward
will
to that.
say a lot of the time, if I've ever been to an Ian course, he does like Matobu a lot. Lots of Matobu inspired drills and pad
Yeah,
drills and impact work. So if it works
I
for
will
you,
have to
that's
research
awesome.
this because everybody talks about him as the brawler, and he seems to be the authority on Naihanchi,
Mm,
from everybody else's point of view. But I've never been taken by his drills. But maybe I'll have to have a little look into them and see if that can
mm.
change my mind. Right,
But
time's
yeah,
running
in
down,
terms,
so
all right,
we
guys. Well, yeah, I think we'll wind it up here, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I'll post this wherever possible. Yeah, drop us a comment, drop us a like. Hope we're all doing well. And yeah, I've been Kieran. You can find me at Mackenzie Karate on Instagram and YouTube.
and I'm Brian Bates from Brian Bates Sanchin Karate. So yeah, YouTube, all the other, Instagram, all of that jazz. Okay, so
All right, awesome. Well, thanks
us,
very much, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.
us.
Us.